Hello, hi, and welcome to Meaningful Mondays with me, Rashmi Shetty, a space where I share my life lessons. Ever since I started the Vani program, a lot of people are mailing me and messaging me to ask me what is the use of a voice coach? Why is the voice so important? And if I can use a Meaningful Mondays to give that. Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much for the suggestion. And so here goes. When we talk about Vani, V is one element and one aspect of Vani, and that's what I'll be doing today on Meaningful Mondays to tell you what are those five basic elements that anybody's voice can be used for. And if all these five elements are completely understood and used every time you speak, you'll start noticing a huge difference in the way your communication is received and how exactly it goes across. So, putting together this entire 17 years of my experience in the voice industry is where Vani was conceived during the pandemic because virtual presentations became the norm. And today, with a hybrid model that most corporate houses are intending to move on to, part virtual and part face to face, the power of the voice has been best understood now. Because most of the audience members keep their cameras off and are muted during a webinar or a presentation. And therefore, you never know how it is going across. Unless and until somebody asks you a question, it doesn't tell you or give you immediate feedback because you cannot even see your participants. Therefore, your enthu as a presenter, as a speaker, whether it's a meeting or a presentation, should be there intact. So, these five basic elements, which comprise to what voice actually means. In fact, I did it as an acronym. I love working with acronyms because it's easier to remember. So, these five elements are what you have to keep in mind. First is V, that is volume. It's very important for us to understand that the volume is something that we have complete control over. When we have a earphone with a mic attached or we have an external mic, most of us tend to speak way softer. But with the bandwidth, and most of us working from home, like you can hear the sounds outside, it becomes imperative to keep your volume really high. And volume, in fact, is something where your breath is under control. Okay? So remember this. We have three kinds of voices: the lowest voice, where we can speak and still be clearly understood, our highest voice, where we can be loud enough and still don't sound like we are screeching, or the middle voice, where the more we throw out with power, the more it is sent across as confident speakers and a person who has complete control over what he or she is speaking. The next element is O, which is for oscillation. Oscillation is another word for modulation. If a voice does not have oscillation, there is no interest, because if you continue to speak in the same monotone, you don't sound interesting at all. In fact, if you bring in a lot of modulation, you are considered interesting and your stories reach your audience way more powerfully. I stands for inflection. Inflection is the throw of the voice, which is completely based on your breathing. The more powerful your breath, when you're breathing out, you throw out your voice, it really helps in the powerful way in which your voice goes across. C stands for clarity. It's very important for us to open our mouth while we speak. Most of us tend to speak from within, and therefore, especially when we are conscious with a mic in front, we don't end up having clarity. So, make yourself absolutely clear. It may seem exaggerated in the beginning, but the whole challenge is about making it a part of how you speak. And E stands for emotions. When you are happy, make sure you are happy. And that happiness comes across with the words. Because when we speak, our words become visual. So, people listening to us, you will have to convey that emotion. Audiobooks today are the norm. And I'm sure you can find out from the narrator how involved is the narrator. That's why, if you notice, in most of these popular animated films, they usually have very, very renowned actors to give the voiceovers, because those actors live the emotions when they reel out their dialogues, and therefore, even though the character is animated, the voiceover adds the life to it. So remember, volume, oscillation, inflection, clarity, and emotion are all that you have to bring together. This is just one part of Vani. For the remaining part of Vani, what I work around is attitude, non-verbal cues, and most importantly, putting it all together with an impact. So, around these are what Vani is designed. And I have done this mainly with women in mind, because I realize that women have this huge imposter syndrome most of the time of whether they can do it. And to tell them, yes, you can, Vani has been conceived. So don't allow your voice to stop you. And if you know somebody who's on the quest to find her true self, let her get in touch with 98442 57627. If you are interested, also you can call me on that number or WhatsApp me on that number. Otherwise, you can email me at rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com to clarify any other doubts. Have a meaningful, purposeful week ahead. Stay safe, stay blessed.